The Democratic mayor of Del Rio, Texas, meanwhile, telling us yesterday about how he's been dealing with this border surge firsthand. Take a look.
Why are taxpayers continuing to have to fund all of these issues when it's a policy that really needs to be evaluated and reassessed, really? And this cannot be sustained. This is unsustainable. It's affecting my community firsthand.
Powerful interview yesterday. I want to bring in former acting DHS Secretary and Heritage Foundation visiting fellow Chad Wolf. And by the way, we do want to mention that we did reach out to DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. He did not get back to us. We have not heard back yet, I should say. Chad, great to see you. Thanks for being here. Unsustainable. You just heard from that Democratic mayor of a border town. He described to us in detail what they have been dealing with, the resources that are getting sucked up, and how this is unsustainable. So when is the Biden administration going to hear this and act?
Well, it's a great question, and the mayor is exactly right. The communities along that border are the ones that are having to bear the cost of this crisis and the unprecedented migrant flows that we are seeing today. And so it's on their public safety, it's on their law enforcement, it's on their social services at the end of the day. And the Biden administration needs to understand that they need to enforce the rule of law on that border. They need to take border security seriously, and they need to take immigration enforcement seriously, because if they don't, we're going to continue to have these numbers month after month after month. And it's very concerning what law enforcement and what those communities are having to deal with today.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're aware, Mr. Secretary, of the letter that these three top Trump-era Department of Homeland Security officials have penned to President Biden, calling on him to dismiss Mayorkas over his handling of the southern border and the crisis there. They're accusing him of reckless abandonment of securing the border. They go on and they do not mince words. They want action. They want some. When do things hit rock bottom and we do finally see them step in and enact some sort of change and actually handle this crisis?
Well, frankly, I don't know how it could get much worse. We are in an unprecedented crisis on that southwest border. And I will just say that I have significant policy concerns with Secretary of DHS at the moment. I think the policies that they're pursuing are dangerous to the country and make us less secure than we have at the end of the day. But I think we need to remember, whether the secretary is there or not, these are policies being pushed from the Biden White House. And so if one secretary leaves, they're just going to put another one in that's going to pursue the same policies. So that's what's most concerning. And I think that's where a lot of the focus needs to be, is on the White House, asking them to reevaluate their policies that are driving this crisis at the end of the day.
I go back to the powerful firsthand account that mayor gave us yesterday. He was telling us about one of these migrants who just walked onto his property. You heard about his kids were just playing, and he had to step in. The migrant was so injured, though, from the journey, that he ended up getting some Tylenol and helping him back on his journey again, and trying to make sure that he didn't. This wasn't a migrant that died right there on his property. But the resources, I mean, what are these small towns going to do? I mean, if it's unsustainable, how much longer can they hang on and deal with this crisis themselves?
Well, they'll certainly do everything that they can, because at the end of the day, these are their communities, and so they want to protect them and make sure that they continue to thrive. But the federal government has a fundamental responsibility here in making sure that those communities are safe and securing that border. And what we've seen time and time again is that the Biden administration is not interested in border security and immigration enforcement. It's the law of the land. They need to uphold that rule of law, so that we send a signal to these cartels and to these smugglers and others that sending people in the hundreds and thousands across the border is no longer acceptable. They will be returned. They will be removed from the United States. And until we do that, again, we're going to continue to see these numbers and the stories like you've mentioned.
Real quickly, what's your message to those on the far left who vowed immigration reform? They vowed to address the problems that they were identifying at the border under the Trump administration, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others. What is your message to them?
Well, as you can imagine, they have been noticeably absent from the crisis that we see over the last several months. But whether we can get immigration legislation passed in Congress, I think, is going to be a tough battle. But at the end of the day, this is a self-imposed crisis, self-inflicted. The Biden administration has all the tools that it needs administratively and through the executive branch to solve this crisis at the end of the day. They first need to do that. They first need to restore law and order to the border. And then I think we can have a larger conversation about immigration reform and a variety of different other areas.
Chad Wolf, the former acting DHS secretary, appreciate your time this afternoon, sir. Thank you.